we'll see basics of Python. Python is a scripting language developed by Zero and Russell in 1990s when he was working with Google. Okay, so Python is highly interpreted, interactive. It's object-oriented, so it has support for the database. To interact with database, it has support for the something called Django programming, web support. You can develop websites using Django, graphical user interfaces using Django, right? And it's easy to learn, easy to read, easy to maintain. It has support for the modules, so a lot of modules we can reuse. Okay, so when we talk about any programming language or scripting language, it will have its own syntax. So how to write the program, how to call a function, how to call a module, how to define a module, how to define a function. And it will also have its own data types, how to store the data in the data types or the variables, right? So Python has also few primary data types, something like we store the values in either numbers, strings, or lists, or tuples, dictionaries. So these are the data types of Python, right? So when I say numbers, so these are something like integers, right? So I is equal to 2 is a number. We do not have to declare something like int I is equal to 2. So I is equal to 2, Python internal knows that it's an integer or a float number, right? Or I is equal to, let's say, 2.3. So this is a float number. So Python internally knows that based on the integer, whether it's a number or whether it's a float number. So I is equal to 2 plus 3j. What is this? What kind of data type is this? Anyone? 2 plus 3j, what kind of data type is this? What is this number called?
Float.
What is it?
Float.
This is float, which has dot in between. So this is something called complex number, right? Okay. So Python supports these data types. Okay. Strings is nothing but a collection of characters. str is equal to hello world. This is a string, right? Okay. So let us see. I just log into a Vagrant VM. Login as root. Then how do I check if Python is installed? Just type Python. If Python is installed, we'll go to this prompt. Okay, this is a prompt. To come out again, exit. Okay, so we can say Python-v. Sorry, Python-version. This will give you the Python version. 2.7.5 is the Python version. How do we install Python? Just say install-y, Python. So this will install Python. If you do not have the Python installed on the machine, on the Linux machine, just say yum install hyphen Python. This will install the Python on the machine. So Python hyphen version will give you the version of the Python installed. Right? So Python is a scripting language. Basically we can write, we can automate a lot of stuff using Python. If you're doing some task regularly, repeatedly, that can be automated using Python. Either shell scripting or Python are widely used nowadays in DevOps to automate the things. Right? From Jenkins we can call a shell script. From Jenkins we can call a Python script. So most of the things can be done by shell script. But if you want something else to have support, a strong support, Python can be used. Right? Okay. So when I say Python is interactive, if I just type Python, we go to the Python prompt. Here I can declare the variables. Here I can write the entire program here. This is just for kind of testing. If something is going wrong, we can come here and execute it and check whether it's working fine or not. So let us say I just define a is equal to 10. What is the value of a? 10. Right? So in the same way there is a function called type of a. This says that it's a integer. Right? In the same way, let us say a is equal to 10.5. A value is 10.5. Type of a is float. Right? In a similar way, a is equal to 2 plus 5j. Okay? And a value is 2 plus 5j. Type of a is complex. Right? So this type shows, a function called type shows what kind of variable is this. Is this an integer? Is this a float? Or is this a complex number? Right? Or let us say I just say a is equal to, in between commas, hello world. What is the type of a? It's a string. Right? So these are the numbers. This is a string. String is a collection of characters, and these variables are used to store different kinds of integers. It can be a float or it can be a complex number. You just give the value in the interpreter, it will show the variable name in the interpreter, it will show the value. Right? Is this clear? Is this clear? Okay. Then let us declare a list. So list is something like an array where we can store multiple number of elements. So it starts with a curly brace and we can define like this: A, B, C, or anything. 1, 2, 3, 4.5, 9.0, this way. So we can define either the strings or the characters or the numbers inside a list. So list is like an array, or we can say it's a collection of items. Right? So this can be heterogeneous. In the sense, they need not be all characters, they need not be all numbers. It can be a collection of different heterogeneous items. Right? So type of A will give me list. So list is something like we store the values, we store the variables inside the list using square braces. Okay. So this is the list. So let us try to define a list. So I'll just say list is equal to, list 1 is equal to, in curly braces, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, this is a list. If I just say list, or if I just say type of list, it will give, sorry, type of list 1. It will give list, right? So I defined list 1, and when I say type of list 1, it says list, right? So list can also be indexed. If I give list of 0, sorry, list 1 of 0, it will give the element. So 0th element is this is the first element, right? So it is index starts from 0. So this is the 0th element, this is the first, this second, this third, this fourth, right? In the same way, list 1 of, let us say 1, will give me B. List 1 of, let us say 4, will give me that element, so third element, right? This is 0, 1, 2, 3, yeah, sorry, fifth element. So list 0 is the first element, list 1 is the second element, because index always starts from 0, right? So let us say list 1 of 2 to 5. Okay, so this is 0, 1, 2, right? So starting from second element till fifth it will give. Starting from second element, starting index starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till fifth, excluding fifth. So it will give from second to fourth. Starting from the second element till fifth, excluding fifth is what it will give. List of 2 to 5. Or I can say simply list 2 colon without giving any end. Sorry, list 1. So this will give starting from the second element till the end. Okay, starting from the second element till the end. List 1 is this thing. List 1 of 2 colon will give starting from the second element till the end. Or if I give like this colon, I'll not give anything in the beginning and gives fifth. Sorry, again list 1. So this will give starting from the beginning till the fourth element. Okay, is this clear? List value can be changed. Let us say list 1 is, this is the list which we have defined. So I'll say list 1 of 0th element is equal to, I'll say A, B, C, D, E, F. Right now, if I say list 1, the first element is replaced with A, B, C, D, E, F. Right? So lists are mutable. We can change any value in the list. Right? Let us say list 1 of 4 is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, what is the value of list 1? So this is changed. Right? So lists are mutable. Can edit the values after defining. We define the list here. We are able to change it. So that is what is mutable. Right? So lists are something like an array, but arrays are collection of homogeneous elements, whereas lists are collection of heterogeneous elements. Right? Is this clear? We can access the values of list 1. We can index the list, and we can also change the values. We can also use the slicing. This is called slicing. We can extract the elements of the list using this slice operator, 2 to 5, 1 to 3, something like that. Is this clear? Okay. So next thing is tuples. Tuples is same as a list, only one difference. collection of same items, heterogeneous elements also. Heterogeneous elements. Same like list. Only thing is they are enclosed in between normal braces. Okay, so this is a tuple, right? So type of A will give me tuple, right? So what is the difference between list and tuple? Here also we are defining the multiple numbers, multiple strings, multiple characters. Here also we are giving the heterogeneous elements. So the difference is tuple is immutable. Cannot change the value once after defining, right? So let us try to define a tuple. So I'll say A is equal to normal braces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A. So always string we define in the either inverted commas or the single quotes. Okay. B, C. Okay. So type of A will give me tuple. The type is tuple, right? So now again it can be indexed. A of 0 will give me 1. The same way A of, let us say, 4 will give me the fifth element, right? Now let us try to change something. So let us say A of 4 is 5. I want to change this to, let us say, ABC, right? So tuple object does not support item assignment. So we cannot edit any value once we have defined the tuple. So that's the only difference between lists and the tuples. One thing is they are enclosed in between the curly braces. Here tuples are enclosed in normal braces, and lists are mutable, tuples are immutable. So when to use lists, when to use tuples. So when we have something like we have already defined something in a tuple, or we have defined some data, and we want that data not to be overwritten anytime, then we have to use tuples, right? And we are doing some data manipulation operations where data continuously changes. We need to use lists. We can modify the list, but we cannot modify the tuple. If we have some data that cannot be modified at any point of time, we just want to extract and use it inside the program, then we need to go for tuples. Is this clear? Any questions so far? Okay, numbers, strings, lists, tuples. These are the data types. Okay, so another important data type is dictionaries. Okay, so these are called hashes in Perl, dictionaries in Python. So this is also another data type, but this will have something like a key value pair, right? So we can define the data this way. Let us say A is equal to, in between curly braces, 1 ONE1, 2 TW2, 3. So here 1, 2, 3 are the keys. 1, 2, 3 are the keys. their respective values are 1, 2, 3. So a dictionary will have its own values and keys, right? So this is a dictionary. A is a dictionary. Dictionary can be defined by enclosing in between curly braces, and we have keys and we have values. So this is a key value pair. So there will be a key, there will be a value, right? So something like A is equal to 1. We can define anything, just for example. Okay, I define like this. Type of A will give me dict indicates it's a dictionary, right? Now A dot keys will give me keys in a list format, right? So 1, 2 are the keys from the dictionary. So we can extract the keys from the dictionary using A dot keys. In a similar way, A dot values will give me the value of the keys, right? So in a similar way, A of 1 will give me the value of the key, right? A of 1 is 1, indicating that this one is a key, this ONE is the value of that key, right? So like this we can define the dictionaries, right? So let us say I want to override some value. A of 1 is equal to, this is the value, right? So I'll say 1, 1. So now A is, we have overwritten one of the values of the key 1. So here 1, 2 numbers are the keys, ONE1 and TW2, these are the values, right? So here one more thing is, let us say I define tuple like this. Here I have given value of keys as 1 equal to 1, and again instead of 2 I gave 1. So I gave duplicate keys, but it has taken only 1. So here keys have to be always unique. We cannot have duplicate keys, but values we can have duplicate values, right? So we cannot have something like A is equal to, so this is a example dictionary. So here keys are A comma B, values are 1, 2, 3, and let us say 4, 5, 6, right? So this is a dictionary, dict, and A dot values will give me A comma B in the list format, right? A dot keys will give me, sorry, this is keys. A dot values will give me 1, 2, 3, comma 4, 5, 6. So I cannot have something like A is already defined. I cannot reuse A. It has to be always unique. So keys always have to be unique, but values can be same. Here I can also define 1, 2, 3. Values can be same, right? So instead of A equal to 1, 2, 3, what do I do is I just change the key, and again I give the value as same 1. So this still works. A dot keys is 1, 3. A dot values is 1, 1, right? So this is dictionary. Is this clear? Is this clear? Any questions so far? So these are the primary data types of Python: integer, string, lists, tuples, and dictionaries. So these are used to store the data in the form of variables, right? So next let us try to write a sample programs. So before that we need to see something called indentation, right? So when we are seeing Ansible, when we are writing Ansible playbooks, let us say I started writing my program here, right? And then we have defined like this: hyphen host equal to web servers, then tasks, right? And we have defined something like hyphen name. If we give one space mistake also, it was throwing error, right? Like this. It has to be always the same indentation we have to follow, right? So that is because Ansible is written in Python. So Python follows indentation. In Python, indentation is enforced, right? So when we start writing a program, let us say a is equal to 0, or let us say you write something like this: a is equal to 0, b is equal to 10, right? And if while declaring, if you give one space here, it will throw error, right? So because it finds that a value, a block is started, a block is ended using indentation, right? So in case of scripting languages, if C or C++, we write like this: if a is greater than 0, right? And then we open a brace, and then we print something like a is positive, else print a is negative or non-negative, and then we close the brace. So here the interpreter knows that it started here, it ended here, it started here, it ended here. So different languages will have different syntaxes, right? But here Python will not have any curly braces or anything. It just understands that a program is started, a block is started, a block is ended using indentation. So the same program, if I write in Python, it will be like this. And we use something called colon. Then if we started here, the next statement has to start with some indent. Either it can be a tab, or it can be 2 spaces or 4 spaces. But that indentation we need to maintain throughout the script. Let us say I use a tab here, right? Then print a is positive, right? And the next line, if this block is completed, it can come here. We can write here else, and block again we need to have indentation. But if we have another statement, we can write like this: print hello world. But we cannot write like this, either this way or with one space, or like this. We cannot write this. So it has to be, if there is a tab here, we also have to have a tab here, right? Because it knows that this is inside the if block using the indentation, right? In the same way, else print a is negative, right? So this block is completed. So if I give something wrong like this, 1 space or 2 space or 3 space, then it will fail. If tab is, we started with tab, we have to continue using tab. Or if we start with 2 spaces, we can use 2 spaces only, like this. If I give here 3 space, it will fail, 4 space it will fail, or if you give 1 space also it will fail. So this is indentation. Or if you start using 4 spaces, you have to use 4 spaces. Okay. So here tab is equal to 8 spaces, right? tab is equal to 8 spaces, but we cannot use either tab or 8 spaces. Any one of them we need to use. Tab is different, 8 space is different, 4 space is different, 2 space is different. Either use tab or use 8 spaces or 4 spaces or 2 spaces, but we need to use that consistently across the throughout the program, right? So let us say I define a is equal to 0, right? A is equal to 100. It says unexpected indent because I have given one space here. So it strictly follows the indentation. If you don't give something properly, if you give something properly, it will always fail. It will say unexpected indentation failed, indentation error, right? So when we start writing the Python programs, we have to make sure that we use proper indent. Is this clear? Okay, so we can write the program this way in the interactively. Let us say print hello world. So this will print the hello world. Or how do we write the program? Let us say sample1.py. Py indicates the Python program, and which Python will give me the interpreter path. So bin Python. So I'll say sample.py, and we need to write the interpreter here, bin Python. So anything which starts with hash is a comment. This is a sample Python program, right? Then I start writing my program. So how do we write this? Simply say print hello world and save it. Now I have saved the program. I change the mode. Then we can simply execute sample.py. It will give hello world. Right? It's just a single line program. It prints hello world. Or we can say Python sample.py. This also gives the same result. Right? Is this clear? Let us say if you want to add two numbers, a is equal to 100, b is equal to 200. Just say a plus b. So this will print the output on the console, right? So the same thing I want to write inside the program. Let us say sample2.py, right? So again I'll write bin Python. A is equal to 100, b is equal to something, c is equal to a plus b, print c, right? I'll again change the mode and I'll just execute sample2.py. So this will print 1100. It will just sum two numbers, which is a, another is b, and it will print c. Is this clear? Okay, so let us say I want to take input from the user. Instead of declaring directly, I want to take inputs from the user. So I'll say print enter a number, and I'll say a is equal to input, print enter another number, b is equal to input, right? And c is equal to a plus b. So here input is a function that takes input from the user, from the keyboard. So let us try this. Sample2.py, enter a number 10, enter another number 30, sum is 40, right? So we just printed something, enter a number, and we are using a function called input. So this input will take input from the user, and whatever the user enters, it will assign the value to a variable called a. So A is a variable that stores the value which user enters from keyboard, right? Or we can also write like this: A is equal to input, enter a number. B is equal to input, enter another number. Enter C. So this will also give the same result: 10, 20, sum is 30. Is this clear? So if I enter the prompt, let us say A is equal to 100, B is equal to 10, A minus B will give me 90, A star BB will give me, so all multiplication, division and everything works here, right? So A percentile B will give me the remainder. When you divide this with this thing, there will be a remainder that will be given. This is called modulus operator. This is addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, right? So sample 2.py, we have taken input and we have printed the output on the screen, right? Now let us see some loops. User enters something from the keyboard and we need to tell it's a positive number, negative number, or it's a 0, right? So I'll open another program, sample3.py, and I'll write bin python. Then this is a comment, it will not be executed. This is a script to validate, to tell it if it's a positive, negative or 0, right? So again I'll use number is equal to, number is a variable, input, enter number, right? So number has the value which is entered from the keyboard. Now what do we do is, if number is greater than 0, then follow the indentation. I'm following tab, right? Print A is positive, right? Tell if number is less than 0, again tab, print A is negative. So we can have any number of else ifs here. Else if is else if. Then I can give else. Else print A is 0. Right? So always a tab is maintained because of indentation. If you want to write another statement here inside the same block, I need to follow the indentation. Right? If I don't give anything, it will give error. Right? So if I follow tab, I need to follow the tab across the program. So I'll again change the mode. Enter a number 0, A is 0. Enter a number 100, A is positive. Enter a number -10, A is negative. So this is a simple if loop just to check how the indentation works. So I'm following the tab indentation everywhere, right? So if I use anything else, let us say I just change like this. Now if I execute the program, it says indentation does not match or indentation error, because I did not follow the indentation. Either I need to give a tab here, or if I use 2 spaces or 8 spaces in the program, I need to follow the same indentation everywhere. So with just one space here and there also, if one space is not matching the indentation, it will fail. Is this clear? So if I give like this, will this work? A is positive, right? So we need to follow the indentation across the program. Sorry, sample 3. Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes, Santosh.
Okay. So this is a simple if loop where we can make a decision based on the requirement, right? So the same program can be written in a regular Python interpreter also. So like this, we can say A is equal to 100 if A is greater than 100, 0, colon, again tab, print A is positive. This will give the output, right? So we ultimately we need to write the program in a script, but for testing we can write in the interpreter and get the output line by line, and then once it is successful, we can write in a script, right? Either we can write in an interpreter or we can write in a script. Is this clear? So let us say I'll give A is equal to 0 while A is less than 100 or 10, print A is equal to A plus 1. What happens? This will print 0 to 1. Okay. So value of A is initialized to 0 first, then while A is less than 10. So A value is 0 in the first iteration. 0 is less than 10 is true, so it enters the loop. Initialization, condition checking, increment or decrement. Right? Then it printed A. So this loop will repeat till A value becomes till this condition becomes false. So when the A value becomes 10, 10 less than 10 is false. That's why the loop has came out. Right? Let us say A is equal to 100 while A is greater than 0, print A is equal to A minus 1. If I execute, it will print from 100 to 1. Right? So the syntax is a general if loop, if condition, colon, then the indentation, then the statements. Elif, condition, then the statement. Then the next thing is else. Else, then the statement. So this is the syntax. In a similar way, while, condition, colon, tab, so we need to initialize before that. So we need to initialize the variable. Let us say A is equal to 10. This is the initialization. This is the condition. And then we write some statement, print A or something. Then A is equal to A plus 1 or A is equal to A minus 1 is the increment or decrement. Right. So there will be three parts in a while loop, in a while loop or for loop. First is the initialization, then the condition checking, then the increment or decrement. So either we can print from 0 to 100 or 100 to 0 based on the condition and based on the increment or decrement operator. Right? Is this clear? simple for loop for I in, let us say, range 1 to 5 colon print I. Okay, so let us see what this will print. For I, let us say I is equal to 0. For I in range 1 to 5 print I. So this will print the range starting from 1 to 4 excluding 5. Right, so this will print, this is a range operator. So I value is initialized, then we can write, let us say I is equal to 100, enter, then print I, enter. So this will print starting from 1 till 100, excluding 100 till 99 it will print. Right, so we are using something called range operator. So this range operator is to print the values from a number to a number. Right, so this is a simple for loop which will print the values. We can have multiple for loops like this, range 1 to 5, right? And we can also inside that another for loop we can have for I in range 1 to 5, then print I j. One more indentation. If the loops are increasing, the indentation also has to increase. Something like for loop, inside this for loop, inside this other statement. Let us say if there is another if loop here. Let us say if I is greater than 0 tab. Then if the next statement has to start from here. 1 tab, 2 tab, 3 tab, 4 tab. Right? And let us say print something. And if you are writing something else here in this statement, a while loop, right, while a is greater than 0. And again this block has to start here. So this indentation we need to follow while writing the loops. Is this clear? Okay, so there is something called functions as well, data types, loops, then functions. So if function is for the reusability, we can define a function once and use it many times. Right, we can call the function, we can define the function, and we can use the function. So let's say def hello world. So this is a function and I define like this. Again, while defining the function, we need to follow the indentation. Then let us say print hello world. This, while calling, I can simply say hello world. So this is calling the function and this is defining the function. Right, we can pass the variables here from the calling function. It will be it can be processed in the this function when it is defined. Right, so let us say definition function print hello world. So this function is defined. Now if I say function, it will print hello world. So this is where the function is actually defined. From here we are calling the function, right? So the keyword to define the function is def, def, and the function name with the braces and with the colon. So for everything there will be a colon and then followed by the indentation, right? Is this clear? Let us say definition add a comma b, print a plus b. So this is a function. Let us say definition add 2 comma 3. Oh sorry, I just need to call define add 2 comma 3, right? So like this I can call this function any number of times from any program. It will give the sum from here, right? So I'm calling the function here, it is returning the sum from here, right? So this way we can call the function and we can define the function. We can define the multiple functions inside a single file and we call that a module, right? So that we'll see tomorrow. What are modules? Okay, we'll stop here. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time.